Commander Tae Hyon stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, surrounded by thousands of alien beings. The massive station orbited Vexorus Prime, and through the transparent dome above, he could see stars stretching across 3 galaxies. 12 years ago, humanity had celebrated first contact. Today, Tae wished they had never left Earth, the council speaker. A crystalline entity that shimmered with purple light spoke in a voice that translated directly into his mind. The human question has been decided. All 847 member species have voted. Tae felt his advisor, Dr. Hannah Kang, tense beside him. She was a brilliant scientist who had spent years studying alien biology. Her hand gripped his arm. "Tae, the vote was supposed to be about trade agreements," she whispered. The speaker continued. "By unanimous decision, humanity is hereby classified as a servitor species under Galactic Law Article 7421. The chamber erupted in sounds that ranged from clicking to musical tones to grinding metal. Tae's translator identified them all as approval. Every single species was celebrating. "What does that mean?" Tae asked, though his military training told him he already knew the answer. A holographic display materialized before him. It showed human DNA rotating slowly. Sections of the genetic code were highlighted in red. "Your species carries the genetic markers of the progenitor's slave caste," the speaker explained. "These beings vanished 3 million years ago, but their engineering remains detectable. Humans were created to serve other species. This is not opinion. This is biological fact." Hannah stepped forward. "That's impossible. Human evolution is well documented. We evolved naturally on Earth over millions of years." "Your evolution was guided," another council member said. "This one looked like a massive insect with golden wings. The progenitors seeded your world. They designed you to be intelligent enough to be useful, but limited enough to accept authority. The markers prove this." Tae's jaw clenched. "And what exactly are you proposing?" "We are enforcing historical correction," the speaker said. "For 3 million years, your species has existed without fulfilling its designed purpose. This imbalance must be corrected. You will return to your proper role." "You mean slavery?" Tae said flatly. "We mean fulfilling your genetic destiny. Each species here has legitimate claim to human labor based on ancient contracts established by the progenitors. Earth has 30 days to comply with voluntary redistribution. After that, enforcement will be military." The chamber fell silent. Tae looked around at the assembled species. Some looked uncomfortable. Most looked satisfied. A few looked hungry. "We have rights," Hannah said, her voice shaking with rage. "We're a recognized species. We have treaties." "Treaties with servitor species are provisional," the crystalline speaker replied. "They can be revoked when proper classification is determined. This vote is final. There's no appeal." Tae activated his communication device. "Woojin, are you receiving this?" Across the galaxy on the alien world of Torvas, a young man named Woojin Park sat in a crowded marketplace. He looked like a simple trader, but he was Earth's best intelligence operative. "Every word, Commander," he said quietly into his concealed transmitter. "The locals here are already celebrating. They're discussing which humans they want to claim." Tae closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were cold and hard. "Send Protocol Vesuvius authorization to all networks." "Code Omega Black." "Sir?" Woojin's voice carried a note of shock. "That's the extinction protocol." "Send it," Tae repeated. He turned back to the council. The speaker was explaining the redistribution process. Humans would be categorized by genetic profiles. Some species had claim to human warriors. Others had claim to human thinkers. Some claimed human artists or builders or breeders. "You have made your choice," Tae said, interrupting the speaker. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. "We will make ours." The speaker's crystalline body pulsed with what might have been amusement. "You have no choice, Commander. Your fleet numbers 4,000 ships. The combined council fleet numbers 8 million. Your population is 40 billion. Ours is 900 trillion. Mathematics does not favor defiance. Perhaps, Tay said, but history favors survivors. And humans are very good at surviving. He took Hannah's arm and turned to leave. The council made no move to stop them. They had already won, after all. The vote was final as they walked through the corridors of the station toward their shuttle. Hannah was trembling. "What is Protocol Vesuvius?" she asked. "Something we hoped we would never use," Tay replied. "Something we designed the day after first contact, just in case." "In case of what?" "In case the galaxy turned out to be exactly what it is." They boarded their shuttle and left the station. As they traveled back toward Earth, Tay sent message after message. Every human in alien space received the same order: return home. Bring everything you know about your host species. Over the next week, human ships departed from 600 worlds. Scientists, diplomats, traders, students, tourists, all of them came home. The aliens let them go. Why wouldn't they? In 30 days, they would all be property anyway, but not everyone left. Wu Jin remained on Torvas. So did thousands of others, carefully selected and strategically placed. They sent their final messages home, then went dark. On Earth, massive factories came to life in secret locations. Orbital facilities that had been labeled as research stations revealed their true purpose. Weapons that violated every galactic treaty began rolling off production lines. In his office overlooking the Pacific Ocean, Tay met with a thin woman named Yuna Seo. She was young, barely 30. But she had an engineering mind that frightened even other geniuses. "Show me," Tay said. Yuna pulled up holographic blueprints. "We call them Blackson devices. Quantum singularity generators. Plant one in a planet's core, and you can crack it open from the inside. Completely undetectable until activation. How many can we build in 30 days? 200. Maybe more if we skip safety testing." "Skip it," Tay said. "And Yuna?" "Make them small enough to hide in a transport ship's engine core?" She smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Already done, sir." Day 29 arrived. The Council sent its fleet. But Earth didn't fight. Instead, massive transport ships rose from the planet's surface. They were filled with humans, chained and processed according to the Council's specifications. The alien fleet commanders were surprised but pleased. Humanity had chosen wisdom over pride. They didn't notice the ships were bigger than necessary. They didn't scan the engine cores. They didn't question why the humans seemed so calm. Tay watched from Earth's orbital command center as the transports departed. 40 million humans leaving for 200 different alien worlds. Beside him, Hannah was crying. "We just sold our own people into slavery," she said. "No," Tay replied, his voice like ice. "We just delivered 40 million weapons to our enemies' homes. And in 90 days, the galaxy will learn what human fury really means." He pressed a button. Across Earth's solar system, every communications array shut down. Earth went silent. The war had begun. Captain Bin Choi stood on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable, watching Earth grow smaller in the viewscreen. His ship was the flagship of Earth's defense fleet, and right now it was running away. Every instinct he had screamed against it, but orders were orders. "All ships accounted for, Captain," his first officer reported. "The fleet is retreating to the asteroid belt as planned." Bin nodded. Below him, on Earth's surface, the processing centers were working day and night. Humans lined up by the thousands, getting scanned and tagged and loaded onto alien transport ships. The sight made him sick. His communication panel chimed. It was Yuna Seo calling from a hidden facility on Mars. "Captain, I need to show you something." Her face appeared on his screen. Behind her, Bin could see a massive factory floor. Thousands of spherical devices, each about the size of a basketball, moved along assembly lines. "These are the Blackson units," Yuna explained. "Each one contains a quantum singularity generator. We've managed to produce 287 of them." "And they'll do what you promised?" Bin asked. "Plant one in a planet's core, and it creates a controlled singularity. Massive energy release. Enough to crack planetary shields from the inside. But that's not the best part." She smiled. We've hidden one inside every transport ship's engine assembly. The aliens are literally carrying their own doom to their homeworlds. Ben felt a grim satisfaction. How long until you can activate them? 90 days. We need the transports to reach their destinations and the devices to be installed in deep infrastructure. The aliens think they're just standard human transport ships being scrapped for parts. Across the solar system, another conversation was happening. Nari Lee sat in a dark room filled with holographic displays. She was Earth's best cyber warfare specialist. And for the past 3 months, she had been doing something impossible. "Director Ma," she said. Speaking to her superior, "I'm inside their networks." Director Juan Ma appeared on her screen. He ran Earth's Shadow Bureau, the organization that officially didn't exist. All of them? All 200 target species, Nari confirmed. Banking systems, defense networks, life support controls, communication grids. I've planted viruses in everything. They're dormant now, hidden in code that looks like normal system updates. But when I activate them, their entire infrastructure will collapse simultaneously. Casualties? Minimal if we time it right. The viruses will shut down weapons and shields, but life support will stay on emergency backup. We're not trying to kill everyone, just leave them helpless. Juan nodded. Good, we're not monsters. We're just teaching monsters a lesson they'll never forget. On the planet Kethris, a human named Jin Bak stood in a deep mine shaft. Around him, dozens of other humans worked with drilling equipment, supervised by insectoid aliens who clicked their mandibles impatiently. Jin was listed as a simple laborer, sold to the Kethris Mining Collective for resource extraction. What his alien masters didn't know was that Jin had spent 20 years in Earth's military as a demolitions expert. Position confirmed, he whispered into a concealed transmitter hidden in his tooth. Air filtration system, level 47. Structural supports look vulnerable. Across Kethris, 4,000 other laborers were doing the same thing. Mapping infrastructure. Finding weak points. Placing undetectable charges that look like mining equipment malfunctions on the pleasure world of Thalos. A woman named Storie served drinks to alien dignitaries. She wore the simple clothing of a domestic servant and kept her eyes downcast. The aliens saw what they expected, a submissive human female. Grateful to serve her betters, they didn't see the trained assassin, who had memorized every security code in the governor's mansion. They didn't notice when she copied defense protocols from unattended computer terminals. They never suspected that the shy servant girl could kill everyone in the room in under 30 seconds. Northwest Tower, 3rd floor, Sol whispered while cleaning glasses. That's where they keep the planetary shield controls. 2 guards, both armed, but they get distracted easily. Her handler's voice came through her earpiece. Confirmed. Maintain position. 60 more days. Dr. Ray Moon had a different assignment. She had been sold to the Voranth Empire as a scientific consultant. The Voranth were proud of their military technology, especially their fleet shields. That could withstand direct hits from nuclear weapons. They were so proud that they let their human scientists examine the systems in detail. Ray spent her days studying their shield generators, taking notes, asking questions. The Voranth scientists enjoyed explaining how superior their technology was to primitive human designs. The shield harmonics are tied to their biology, Ray reported during her secret communications window. They modulate the frequency based on Voranth neural patterns. But that means the shields have a fatal flaw. If you disrupt Voranth neural chemistry, even temporarily, the shields collapse. Can we weaponize that? Her handler asked. Already done? I've isolated a compound that will induce neural seizures in Voranth physiology. Non-lethal but completely incapacitating. They'll be unconscious for hours and their shields will be down. This was happening across 200 worlds. Humans worked in factories and learned manufacturing weaknesses. Humans cleaned government buildings and memorized security procedures. Humans drove transport vehicles and mapped military installations. The galaxy had bought 40 million slaves. What they actually got was 40 million intelligence operatives, On day 60, something unexpected happened. Humans across multiple worlds began falling ill. They developed fevers, weakness, and neural problems. Alien medical facilities scrambled to help. After all, 6 slaves were worthless slaves. The aliens concentrated humans in medical centers, running tests, trying to understand the illness. They called it genetic rejection syndrome and theorized that human biology was struggling to adapt to alien environments. What they didn't realize was that the illness was completely fake. Carefully designed symptoms triggered by nanotechnology that every human carried. The real purpose was to get humans concentrated in central locations with access to critical systems. On day 75, all the humans mysteriously recovered. The aliens were relieved. Their investments were safe. By day 85, the chess pieces were in position. Jin and his teams had mapped every critical structure on Kethris. Sol had complete access to Thalas's government center. Rhea had created biological weapons tailored to 17 different alien species. Nari sat in her dark room on Earth's moon, watching data streams from 200 worlds. Her viruses were hidden in every network, waiting for activation. Yuna's Blackson devices were installed in planetary infrastructure across the galaxy. Disguised as recycled human transport equipment, Captain Bin Choi's fleet had grown. While the galaxy celebrated its victory over humanity, Earth had been building ships in hidden asteroid facilities. The official fleet of 4,000 vessels was now secretly 10,000. On day 89, the last human transport ship left Earth. The aliens considered the redistribution complete. Humanity had been successfully enslaved without a single shot fired. On day 90, every communication from Earth stopped. Every signal went silent. The Sol system became a dark void in galactic communications. Some alien species wondered if something was wrong. Most assumed humans were simply accepting their fate in sullen silence. In the asteroid belt beyond Mars, Bin stood on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, 10,000 warships waited in the shadows, invisible to long-range sensors. How long? He asked. His tactical officer checked the countdown. 29 days, 18 hours until Operation Olympus. Bin looked at the star map showing 200 alien homeworlds, each one marked with the number of humans currently enslaved there. 40 million points of light scattered across 3 galaxies. They think we're slaves, Bin said quietly. In 29 days, they'll learn we're ghosts. And ghosts don't forget. They haunt. On Kethris, Jin placed his last charge. On Thalos, Sol memorized her final target. On Voranth, Ray synthesized her last batch of neural toxin. Across 200 worlds, 40 million humans waited. And on day 120, at exactly midnight Universal Time, every single one of them received the same neural pulse. A single word that meant everything had changed: Olympus. The fury was about to begin. The Kethris Mining Collective supervisor clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. The human slaves were exceeding all expectations. In just 3 months, they had increased productivity by 40%. They learned quickly, worked efficiently, and rarely complained. He watched Jin Bak operate a deep-core drilling machine with practiced ease. The human had taken to the work naturally. The supervisor's species, the Kethrians, prided themselves on recognizing quality laborers. These humans were proof that the council had made the right decision. You there, the supervisor called to Jin. The filtration system on level 47 needs maintenance. Take your team down? Jin nodded respectfully. Yes, supervisor. Right away. He gathered 5 other humans and headed to the lower levels. The supervisor didn't follow. Why would he? The humans had been completely compliant for months. In the deep tunnels, Jin activated his concealed communicator. Team 7 in position. Final charges ready for placement. A voice responded in his earpiece. Confirmed. All teams report ready. Olympus in 72 hours. Jin looked at the massive structural supports holding up millions of tons of rock and metal. He had spent 3 months mapping this mine. He knew exactly where to place charges for maximum impact. The aliens had given him complete access to their most critical infrastructure. And he had used it perfectly. On Thalos, Storie set down a tray of refreshments in the governor's office. The governor, a being that resembled a floating jellyfish with golden tentacles, didn't even look at her. To him, she was furniture. Useful, but invisible. "The planetary defense meeting is in 1 hour," the governor's assistant was saying. "All security chiefs will be present." The governor rippled with pleasure. "Excellent. I want to review our shield protocols. There are rumors that some human worlds are considering resistance." Sol almost smiled but kept her face neutral. She finished serving and left the room, but not before noting which computer terminal the assistant was using. She had copied data from that terminal 17 times now. She knew every security code in the building that night. While the aliens slept, Sol moved through the mansion like a shadow. She had done this 100 times. The guards knew her face. A human servant working late, nothing suspicious. She reached the northwest tower and climbed to the 3rd floor. The 2 guards stationed there were playing some kind of game, distracted as always. Sol walked past them carrying cleaning supplies. They didn't even glance up. Inside the shield control room, she spent 15 minutes making final adjustments to the system. Small changes, invisible to casual scans, but devastating when activated. When the Olympus signal came, Thalos's planetary shields would collapse in exactly 3.7 seconds. On Vorinth, Dr. Ray Moon presented her latest research to the Military Science Council. She had become their favorite human expert, the one who truly understood and appreciated Vorinth's superiority. "Your shield technology is remarkable," she told them, her voice full of genuine admiration. "The neural integration is genius. I've never seen anything like it in human designs." The Vorinth scientists preened. One of them, a being with 6 eyes and crystalline skin, leaned forward. "And you understand why it's superior?" "Completely," Ray said. "The shields respond to Vorinth neural patterns in real time, adapting to threats instantaneously. It's beautiful, really, though." She hesitated, as if uncertain whether to continue. "What?" the scientist demanded. "Well, I noticed that the neural link creates a dependency. If Vorinth neural chemistry were somehow disrupted, even briefly, the shields would collapse. But that's such an unlikely scenario that it's barely worth mentioning." The scientist laughed. "Disrupting our neural chemistry? Impossible. Our biology is completely unique. No known toxin or weapon can affect us specifically without affecting dozens of other species." Ray smiled and nodded. In her private laboratory, she had 17 vials of a compound that would prove them very, very wrong. A compound so specific to Vorinth biology that it would render them unconscious in seconds without harming any other species. Similar scenes played out across 200 worlds. Humans who had seemed completely broken and defeated were actually gathering the final pieces of a galaxy-wide trap. On day 100, the planned illness struck. Thousands of humans across multiple worlds developed identical symptoms. Alien medical facilities went into emergency mode. Wu Jin Park, still operating undercover on Torvas, let himself be taken to the central medical complex. As he lay in a hospital bed surrounded by alien doctors running scans, he carefully studied the facility's layout. "Interesting," one doctor said, examining Wu Jin's readings. "The neural patterns suggest some kind of rejection response. Gather all the human patients in Ward 7. We need to run comparative studies." By nightfall, 600 humans on Torvas were concentrated in a single location, a location that happened to house the planet's main communication hub. The aliens thought they were being humanitarian. They were actually following human programming. The same pattern repeated across the galaxy. Sick humans were gathered in central facilities. Aliens ran tests, compared data, and consulted with experts. No one noticed that the medical emergency had positioned humans in the most strategically valuable locations across 200 worlds. On day 115, the humans recovered. Alien medical staff celebrated their success. They had saved their valuable property. Nari Lee watched it all from her control room on Earth's moon. Data from every alien world flowed across her screens. She could see the positions of every human operative, every planted virus, every hidden weapon. "It's beautiful," she murmured. "They still don't suspect anything." Director Juan Ma stood behind her. "Any signs of alertness?" "None. A few mid-level security officers have noted that humans are suspiciously compliant, but their superiors dismiss it as genetic programming finally expressing itself. They think we're proving the servitor theory correct." Juan allowed himself a cold smile. "Let them think that. For 5 more days." On day 118, Admiral Day Quan inspected Earth's hidden fleet. The asteroid belt beyond Mars had become humanity's secret shipyard. Where the galaxy saw primitive mining operations, there was actually the largest military construction project in human history. "Final count?" he asked his logistics officer. 10,000 warships, Admiral. All equipped with weapons that violate Articles 45 through 89 of the Galactic Military Convention. Good. Those articles were written by species that never faced an existential threat. We're about to teach them what total war really means. Day walked through the flagship's corridors, examining the new weapon systems. Causality disruptors that could erase ships from the timeline. Quantum torpedoes that ignored conventional shielding. Nano-weapon clouds that could disassemble entire fleets at the molecular level. Humanity had spent 12 years in the galactic community learning, studying, and adapting alien technology. Then they had improved it. The galaxy thought humans were primitive. They were about to learn that humans were adaptable. On day 119, Captain Bin Choi received his final briefing. Yuna SEO appeared on his screen, looking exhausted but triumphant. "All 287 Blackson devices are in position," she reported. "They're installed in core infrastructure on every major alien world. The aliens think they're recycled components from our transport ships. Power reactors, mostly. No one's questioned them. And when you activate them, planetary shields will crack from the inside. Not enough to destroy the planets, but enough to leave them completely vulnerable. They'll be defenseless for approximately 17 minutes. That's all we need," Bin said. 17 minutes to deliver terms. On day 120, at 2350 Universal Time, Tae Hyon sat in Earth's command center. Around him, every screen showed a different alien world. 40 million humans waited across the galaxy. 10,000 warships prepared to drop their stealth fields. Viruses waited in alien computer networks. Weapons were armed. Saboteurs stood ready. Hannah Kong stood beside him, pale but determined. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. "Once we start, there's no going back. The galaxy will never trust us again." "The galaxy enslaved us," Tae replied. "Trust is already dead. Now we're teaching them fear." At 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 50 seconds, he raised his hand. Every eye in the command center focused on him. 10 seconds, 9-8, across 200 worlds, 40 million humans felt the neural pulse. A single word appeared in their minds: Olympus. At exactly midnight Universal Time. The galaxy learned what happens when you mistake patience for weakness and preparation for acceptance. The fury was unleashed. At 0:01 Universal Time. Nari Lee pressed a single button. Across 200 alien worlds, dormant viruses woke up. In the span of 3 seconds, the most sophisticated cyber attack in galactic history executed perfectly. On Kethris, the defense network computers began displaying error messages. Shield generators powered down. Communication arrays went silent. Weapons systems locked in safe mode. The military command center erupted in chaos as every screen showed nothing but static. The Kethrian defense coordinator tried to activate emergency protocols, but nothing responded. "What's happening?" he screamed at his technicians. "Unknown, sir. Every system is crashing simultaneously. This shouldn't be possible. Our networks are completely isolated from each other." But they weren't isolated from the microscopic updates that human IT specialists had installed 3 months ago. Updates that looked like routine maintenance but were actually time bombs waiting for activation. On Thalos, the governor's mansion went dark. Emergency lighting kicked in, but all the advanced systems were dead. The planetary shields that protected them from space threats flickered and vanished, Sol removed. In the confusion, she was invisible. She had spent 3 months memorizing the layout of this building. Now, in the darkness, she went to work, the governor's office. Empty. She pulled a small device from her sleeve and plugged it into the main terminal. 5 seconds later, every classified file on Thales' defense systems was transmitted to Earth, the armory on the second floor. 2 guards stood confused, trying to understand why their weapons had suddenly powered down. Sol moved past them like a shadow. She didn't need to kill them. Dead guards would trigger an investigation. Confused guards just looked incompetent. Within 10 minutes, Sol had accessed every critical system in the building. By the time the aliens realized what was happening, their entire government infrastructure was compromised. On Voranth, Dr. Ray Moon walked calmly through the military research facility. Alarms were blaring as systems crashed, but no one paid attention to the human scientist. She was just property, after all. She reached the ventilation control room and opened one of her carefully prepared vials. The compound was colorless and odorless. When it hit the air circulation system, it would spread to every Voranth in the facility within minutes. Ray sealed the vial into the ventilation intake and walked away. Behind her, Voranth scientists began to stumble, their 6 eyes losing focus. Neural seizures exactly as she had predicted. Non-lethal, but completely incapacitating. As they collapsed, their precious shields failed. The shield technology they had been so proud of died with their consciousness. At 0:02 Universal Time, the Sol system exploded with light. For 90 days it had been dark and silent. Now 10,000 warships dropped their stealth fields simultaneously. They had been hiding in the asteroid belt, behind manufactured sensor shadows that made them invisible to long-range scans. Captain Bin Choi stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as his fleet came to life. All ships, this is actual. Commence Operation Olympus. First wave, initiate jump sequence. 2,000 warships vanished from Sol system, reappearing in orbit around 20 different alien homeworlds. Not to attack. Not yet. To deliver a message on Kethris. The crippled defense forces watched in horror as human warships materialized above their planet. The ships were larger than expected, more advanced, and they carried weapons that registered on scanners as completely illegal under Galactic LAWA transmission broadcast on all frequencies. Admiral Daquan's face appeared on every screen across Kethris. "People of Kethris," he said calmly, "you enslaved 200,000 humans. You claimed we were genetically designed to serve you. You were wrong. We are not servants. We are not slaves. We are the species you should never have threatened." At 0:03 Universal Time, UNA-SCO activated the Blackson devices on Kethris. Deep in the planet's core, a quantum singularity generator came to life. It had been installed in what the Kethrians thought was a recycled human power reactor. They had been using it to generate electricity for 3 months. Never suspecting what it truly was, the device didn't create a full singularity. That would have destroyed the planet. Instead, it generated a controlled energy pulse that radiated outward from the core. Kethris's planetary shield, already weakened by Nari's virus, shattered completely. The energy backlash knocked out backup systems across the entire planet. In 3 seconds, Kethris went from a protected military world to a defenseless target. This happened on 200 worlds. Simultaneously, Jin Bak stood in the mine on Kethris, watching his former supervisors panic. "Now," he said into his communicator. Across the planet, humans activated the charges they had carefully placed over 3 months. Not to kill, not to destroy, but to cripple. The mine's structural supports exploded in a sequence that Jin had calculated precisely. The collapse blocked the main shaft but left escape routes open. Production halted, but workers survived. Communication towers fell. Power stations went offline. Transportation hubs became impassable. Within an hour, Kethris's infrastructure was in ruins, but civilian casualties were minimal. On Thalos, Sol completed her mission. The planetary governor lay unconscious in his office, sedated by a compound that would keep him asleep for exactly 6 hours. Long enough for humans to broadcast their terms, but not long enough to cause permanent harm. The entire Thalos government was similarly incapacitated. Not dead, just removed from power until they could be dealt with properly. Admiral Day's message continued broadcasting. You have a choice now. Surrender unconditionally or face total warfare. We are offering you one chance to live. Choose wisely. Some species chose surrender immediately. The Thalans, seeing their entire government neutralized in minutes, transmitted their acceptance within the hour. The Voranth, watching their military leadership collapse from neural seizures, followed soon after, but 174 species refused. They mobilized their remaining military assets, calling for emergency council sessions, demanding that the other species help defend against human aggression. On day 121, the council's combined fleet began to assemble. 400,000 warships from 174 different species. All converging on human space, they outnumbered Earth's fleet 40-1. Captain Bin watched them come on his tactical display. They're not taking us seriously, he said. They still think this is about numbers. His tactical officer nodded. Should we retreat? No, send in the Requiem. A single ship detached from Earth's fleet. It was small, barely the size of a frigate. But it had been designed by Una SCO, using technology that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years. Myra Yoon sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls. She was 25 years old, the youngest pilot in Earth's fleet. She was also the only person who could interface with the Requiem's experimental systems. Requiem to Indomitable, she transmitted. Beginning attack run. The alien fleet saw her coming. One small ship against 400,000. They probably thought she was a messenger. They were wrong. Myra activated the causality disruptor. The weapon didn't fire energy or projectiles. It fired probability. It reached into the quantum field and adjusted the likelihood of events. In this case, it adjusted the likelihood that the enemy ships had ever been built. 100 alien warships simply ceased to exist. They didn't explode. They didn't break apart. They were erased from the timeline as if they had never been constructed. The alien fleet panicked. They fired everything they had at the Requiem. Thousands of weapons, enough firepower to vaporize a planet. Mera dodged. The Requiem's quantum drives allowed it to exist in multiple positions simultaneously. Alien targeting computers couldn't lock on to a ship that was everywhere and nowhere at once. She fired again. Another 100 ships erased. And again. In 10 minutes. Myra had eliminated 500 warships without taking a single hit. Admiral Day transmitted to the alien fleet. This is what human technology looks like when we stop following your rules. You wanted to see our fury. You're looking at it. Now imagine what 10,000 ships like this could do to your homeworlds. Earth didn't actually have 10,000 ships like the Requiem. They had exactly one. But the aliens didn't know that 89 species surrendered. Immediately, that left 85 who chose to fight. Taehyun stood in Earth's command center, watching the tactical displays. 85 civilizations, determined to destroy humanity rather than accept defeat. Give the order, he said quietly. Bin nodded. All ships, weapons free. Show them what it means to threaten Earth. The human fleet engaged. Not with conventional weapons. Not with tactics the galaxy recognized. They used weapons that violated every rule of civilized warfare, nano-weapon clouds that disassembled ships at the molecular level, quantum torpedoes that ignored shields and armor, causality mines that prevented ships from ever reaching the battlefield. Within 72 hours, the alien fleet was destroyed. Not defeated, destroyed. 400,000 ships reduced to debris and bad memories. The galaxy had never seen warfare like this. They had rules, conventions, limits on acceptable weapons. Humanity had learned all those rules. Then they had ignored them completely. Admiral Day's final transmission went out to all 200 worlds. You wanted to enslave us. You claimed we were designed to serve? You were wrong. We were designed to survive, and we will do whatever it takes to ensure that survival. These are our terms: unconditional surrender, full reparations, human observers on every council world, and permanent veto power over any decision affecting humanity. You have 24 hours to accept. After that, we stop being merciful. Across the galaxy, 673 species had already surrendered. 80-5 refused, and Earth prepared to show them what true fury looked like. The Kethrian High Council met in an emergency bunker deep underground. Their beautiful capital city lay in ruins above them, systems destroyed, shields gone, infrastructure crippled. But they refused to surrender. "We cannot bow to slaves," the council leader declared. "Our ancestors ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not be the generation that submits to primitives." Similar conversations happened across 85 worlds. Pride, tradition, and fear of looking weak pushed them toward a decision that would cost them everything on Earth. Tehian received the reports. 85 species had rejected his terms. He looked at Hannah, who stood beside him with tears in her eyes. "They're choosing extinction," she said quietly. "Can't we give them more time? Maybe they'll reconsider." Tay shook his head. "We gave them a choice. They made it. Now we have to follow through, or everything we've done means nothing. But entire civilizations, Tay. Billions of lives." "And they were willing to enslave 40 billion humans," he replied coldly. "They started this. We're going to finish it." He opened a communication channel. "Admiral Day, you are authorized for Phase 2. Extinction protocols are active." Captain Bin Choi received the order aboard the Indomitable. He looked at his crew, seeing the same mixture of determination and horror on their faces. What they were about to do would change humanity forever. There would be no going back. "All ships," he transmitted. "Target the 85 Defiant homeworlds. Prepare planet killer weapons. This is not a drill. This is not a threat. This is extinction." The human fleet divided into 85 strike groups. Each group consisted of a small number of ships. They didn't need large forces. They had weapons that could crack worlds. The first target was Kethris. Bin's ship entered Kethris orbit. Below, the planet's population of 8 billion watched in terror. Their shields were gone. Their defenses were offline. They were completely helpless. "Broadcasting final terms," Bin announced. "Surrender now, or we demonstrate what human fury truly means." The Kethrian Council responded. "We do not negotiate with property. Do your worst, primitives." Bin closed his eyes for a moment. Then he gave the order. "Fire the stellar lance." The weapon was simple in concept but devastating in execution. It was a focused beam of stellar plasma, powerful enough to penetrate to a planet's core. Not enough to destroy the planet immediately, but enough to destabilize it beyond recovery. The beam struck Kethris. For 5 seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then the planet's surface began to crack. Volcanoes erupted across every continent. The atmosphere started to burn. Tectonic plates shattered. "Cease fire," Bin ordered. "Give them 1 minute to change their minds." Below, the Kethrian Council watched their world dying. Lava flows consumed cities. Earthquakes toppled buildings. The ocean began to boil. 30 seconds passed. 40, 50. At 55 seconds, the transmission came. "We surrender. Stop. Please, we surrender." Bin activated the containment field. The stellar lance shut down. The planet's destruction slowed, then stopped. Kethris was devastated, barely habitable, but it would survive. "Surrender accepted," Bin said. "Remain in your bunkers. Human aid ships will arrive within the hour." 89 species surrendered after watching what happened to Kethris. They had seen a planet brought to the edge of extinction and pulled back only by complete submission. They chose survival, but one species, the Vexstar, made a different choice. They saw Kethris's partial destruction as proof that humans were bluffing, that humans couldn't actually commit genocide. They were wrong. The Vexstar Empire had ruled 40 systems for 6,000 years. They were proud warriors who believed strength was the only virtue. They mobilized their remaining fleet and attacked the nearest human colony. Tay received the news of the Vexstar attack. 50 human civilians were dead. A colony station was destroyed. No more warnings, he said. His voice was ice. No more chances. Erase them. Myra Yoon took the Requiem to the Vexstar homeworld. This time she didn't come alone. With her were 46 other ships, each carrying weapons that made the stellar lance look gentle. This is the Requiem to Vexstar Prime, Myra transmitted. You killed humans. You chose violence over surrender. This is the consequence. She activated a weapon that had never been used before. A causality bomb that would erase the Vexstar homeworld from history. The planet didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply stopped existing. One moment, there was a world with 11 billion inhabitants. The next moment, there was empty space. As if the planet had never been formed, the galaxy watched in absolute horror. Humanity had just erased an entire species from existence. Not defeated them. Not conquered them. Erased them from reality itself. The message was clear. This is what happens when you refuse to surrender. Over the next month, 4 more species chose to fight. 4 more species were erased. Planets reduced to asteroids. Suns collapsed into black holes. Entire systems rendered uninhabitable for thousands of years. Dr. Hana Kang couldn't watch anymore. She found Tay in his office, staring at reports from the latest extinction. We've become monsters, she said. We're doing exactly what we accuse them of. We're committing genocide. We're surviving, Tay replied. They wanted to enslave us. We're teaching them why that was a mistake. By killing billions? By erasing civilizations? This isn't justice, Tay. This is mass murder. It's a lesson, Tay said coldly. One the galaxy will remember for 10,000 years. Never threaten humanity. Never try to enslave us. Never mistake our patience for weakness. At what cost? Hannah demanded. We've killed more beings in 1 month than died in all of Earth's wars combined. We're worse than they are. Tay stood and walked to the window. Below, Earth looked peaceful and beautiful. They voted unanimously to enslave us. All 847 species. Not one objected. Not one tried to stop it. They all wanted their piece of humanity. So we're showing them what happens when they try to take pieces of us. You're not the man I knew anymore, Hannah whispered. No, Tay agreed. I'm the man Earth needed me to become. After 30 days of warfare, 80 species had surrendered. 5 had been erased from existence. The galaxy was learning. The Galactic Council met for an emergency session. Only 674 species remained. The rest were either extinct or too devastated to participate. The crystalline speaker who had announced humanity's enslavement stood before an empty chamber. Most species were too afraid to attend in person. They sent holograms instead. We must discuss the Treaty of Terra, the speaker said. A human representative appeared. It was Tae Hyon broadcasting from Earth. There's nothing to discuss. You will accept our terms or join the extinct species. Your terms are unreasonable, a species representative protested. Permanent veto power? Human observers on all our worlds? These conditions make you rulers of the galaxy. No, Tay corrected. These conditions make us safe. You wanted to rule us. We're ensuring you never get that chance again. Accept the terms or we continue Phase 2. The vote took 6 hours. Species argued, debated, and tried to negotiate. But in the end, they had no choice. Humanity had proven it would rather destroy the galaxy than submit to slavery. The Treaty of Terra was ratified by 674 species. The terms were absolute. No species could claim dominion over another sentient race. Slavery in all forms was permanently banned. Humanity gained permanent veto power over any council decision. Human observers would be stationed on every council world with full diplomatic immunity. Any species that violated these terms would face immediate military response from Earth. The galaxy had gone from trying to enslave humanity to being terrified of it. In 90 days, on day 150, Tay stood before a memorial on Earth. It was a simple structure, but it held 40 million names. Every human who had been sold into slavery. Every person who had become an infiltrator, a saboteur, a weapon. Most of them had returned home. Some had died in the fighting. All of them had changed. Jin Bak was there, standing among other survivors. He looked older than his years. Sol Ri stood nearby, still moving like a shadow. Even in peaceful surroundings, Dr. Ray. Moon stared at the memorial with hollow eyes. Tay addressed them and billions watching across Earth. You were asked to become slaves to save our species. You did more than that. You became ghosts who haunted our enemies. You became weapons that won a war. You became heroes who ensured humanity's survival. He paused, looking at the names carved in stone. The galaxy wanted us to kneel? You proved we were never meant to kneel. They thought we were designed to serve. You showed them we were designed to survive. And now, the galaxy will never forget the price of trying to enslave humanity. Hannah stood at the back of the crowd, watching. She had fought with Tay about the methods, about the cost, about the morality of what they had done, but she couldn't deny the results. Humanity was safe. The galaxy feared them now. No species would ever try to enslave humans again. Later she found Tay alone at the memorial. Was it worth it? She asked quietly. Tay looked at the names. 40 million people who had suffered so that 40 billion could remain free. 5 species erased from existence. Countless billions dead or displaced. Ask me again in 1,000 years, he said finally. When the galaxy has rebuilt, when the scars have healed, when new generations have forgotten what happened here. If they remember not to enslave each other, then yes, it was worth it. And if they don't remember? Tay's eyes were hard and cold. Then we'll teach the lesson again, as many times as necessary. He placed his hand on the memorial wall, feeling the names carved beneath his fingers. We were never meant to be slaves. We were never designed to serve. We are survivors. And the galaxy learned that the hard way. Above Earth, Captain Bin's fleet maintained orbit. 10,000 warships armed with weapons that could crack worlds. A permanent reminder of what happened when the galaxy made a terrible mistake. In hidden facilities across the solar system. Eunice teams worked on even more advanced weapons. Just in case, on 674 alien worlds, human observers watched everything. Making sure the treaty was honored. Making sure slavery never returned. The galaxy had tried to chain humanity. Instead, they had awakened something that would never sleep again. A fury that had erased civilizations. A determination that had rewritten galactic law. Humanity had been tested. They had been enslaved. They had been underestimated, and they had responded with such overwhelming force that the galaxy would remember for 10,000 years. Never threaten. Earth, never try to enslave humans. Never mistake patience for weakness. These were the new rules of the galaxy. Written in the ashes of extinct species and enforced by the species that was supposed to be servants, the age of human submission had lasted. 90 days, the age of galactic fear would last forever.